Welcome to the Architectural Orthographic instructional series. Here we will turn our site measurements into a set of scaled measured drawings. When we are on site, even with the best intentions, it is difficult to get a reasonably neat and coherent set of freehand orthographic drawings. Though we need to be systematic when we are on site, it is still prudent to review the rough set of drawings made on site prior to starting the ruled and scaled measured drawings. It is important that we sort and order the drawings to get a sense of the scope and interrelationship between drawings. Often, if we are measuring as a team, the different styles of drawings may make it difficult to immediately understand the drawing set. It is always useful before starting the final ruled and measured set to work over or redraw in freehand some of the drawings so that they are neater and more coherent. You can often conflate some drawings together to make the rough set efficient. If you were handing the drawings over to another person to draw up, this step of redrawing freehand the measured set is time very well spent, as it will ensure that you understand the drawings and it will cut down on the number of questions and errors of the third party who will prepare the final drawings. Spending an hour and a half reworking and arranging drawings will yield efficiencies downstream far more than the input you invest at this stage. With some work and careful arrangement of the drawings on the page, the site measured drawings can already start looking like a set of orthographic drawings. When drawing a set of orthographic drawings, you need to get into the habit of working between views at the same time. The projection between views will not only save time, but it will result in more accuracy. This is why it is essential that you start drawing using tracing paper straight away. That way you can overlay sheets on top of one another to trace construction lines and so on. The second principle is that you should always build the drawings up in stages. Don't work through to completion on the first drawing, say the plan, before moving to the section or elevation. The reason for this is twofold. Firstly, you want to be able to quickly establish the bones of the drawing simultaneously so that you can rework them as a set at the end, neatening them up along the way. The second reason to work the drawings up together is to avoid too much redundant work due to errors. Working between views will quickly uncover uncertainties and errors, so when you come to add in the detail, most of the main setup geometry will be already established and checked. We will start our drawing set with the plan first. We want to identify the main structural grid and draw that accurately, as it will form a common reference between drawings when we are constructing each view. Start with a fresh sheet of tracing or detail paper and begin by setting up the grid. This is the backbone of the drawing, so make sure that you get this right. Be clear whether your grid will be running through the middle of the primary structural elements or alongside them. Don't mix and match how you set the grid lines in relation to structure. The most typical way to set up a grid is through the center of the main structural elements. Here we have interpolated the structural grid and have laid that down first. It is good practice to label a structural grid. Using letters to label the vertical grids and numbers to label horizontal grids is a good principle, but there is no rule per se. Next, we have added the columns and the edge of the slab. In this instance, the plan is quite simple, and once the primary structure has been drawn, we should move straight away to the section. We can overlay a fresh sheet of tracing paper and draw the section on a separate sheet. If we draw the views on separate sheets, then we can rotate them and move them about to construct the other views. Once we have taped the new sheet of tracing paper over the top of our plan, we can then refer to the section measurements to identify the primary set out for the roof structure. We can start projecting the grid and the profile of the columns up from the plan and then start to draw the set out of the roof structure. Once the bones of the section are in place, we can then construct the rest of that primary structure. In order to set out the roof accurately, we need to refer to the details to see how exactly the roof elements rebate into the roof beams. It is important to take note of these small elements when you're out on site, as they can make a big difference how the roof geometry works or springs. If you have not measured the detail, maybe refer to the photographs for clues. Here you can see how the upper roof geometry and the footing details have been derived from the measured set. Once we have finished the first cross-section, section A in this instance, then we can start the other longitudinal section, or section B. To speed things up, we will construct the section by projecting between the plan and the section we have just drawn. Here we will keep the section alignment as it is, and then move the plan and rotate it 90 degrees on our board and align it to the section plane that we are constructing. Once the section and plan are set up on our drawing board so that they are perpendicular to each other, we can start projecting the geometry from the plan and the section to construct the new section. The other point to note is that when we start getting into the habit of constructing our views, when we measure a building next time, we can be more efficient with our measurements. It takes a bit of concentration to work through the many construction lines, but it is quicker and more accurate than working each view from first principles. Note as well that we have included the structural grid on each view and label the grid appropriate to the view. This acts like a second means of coordination between drawings. Now we will construct the roof plan. Without removing the plan and section B, we will rotate and realign section A so that we can generate a series of construction lines between the sections and as well trace over elements of the plan to create the new roof plan view. Through a process of projection and editing and refinement, we can generate the roof plan view and draw on and label the grid so it is the same as the plan. Now we should have 4 base drawings at this stage, comprising a plan, a roof plan, and 2 sections. One last thing we can do with the plan is to remove both plans from the drawing board and tape down the roof plan first and then tape the plan over the top. We can then trace over the overhead detail onto the plan from the roof plan we have just drawn. In the other videos in this series, we will construct the elevations and the reflected ceiling plan, as well as reviewing techniques of naming and coordinating drawings.